Hello, everyone. Let's continue on with A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole. Chapter 8 Scattered Breaths and Haunted Souls. From Rune's perspective. I'm dying. I'm dying. Dying. I have Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's advanced and it's terminal. I have a matter of months left to live, Rune. There's nothing anyone can do. I sprinted through the darkness of the park as Poppy's words circled round and round in my mind. I'm dying, I'm dying, dying. I have a matter of months left to live, Rune. There's nothing anyone can do. Pain, the like of which I never knew was possible, pierced my heart. It sliced, stabbed, and throbbed away at me until my feet skidded to a stop and I fell to my knees. I tried to breathe, but the pain had barely just begun, moving to rip through my lungs until nothing was left. It traveled with lightning speed through my body, taking all until only pain remained. I'd been wrong. I'd been so wrong. I had thought that Poppy cutting me off for 2 years was the greatest pain I would ever have to endure. It had changed me, fundamentally changed me. Being broken up, simply being frozen out hurt. But this, falling forward, crippled by the pain in my stomach. I roared into the darkness of the empty park. My hands scratched at the hard earth beneath my palms, twigs slicing at my fingers, ripping up my nails. But I welcomed it. This pain I could cope with, but the pain inside. Poppy's face flashed into my mind's eye, her perfect damn face as she entered the den tonight, her smiling face behind Ruby and Deacon, and that smile fading from her lips when her eyes found me. I saw the devastation flash across her face when she saw Avery sitting beside me, my arm around her shoulders. What she hadn't seen was me watching her from the kitchen window as she sat outside with Jory. She hadn't seen me arrive when I'd never planned to be there in the first place. When Judson texted me that Poppy had arrived, nothing could hold me back. She'd ignored me. From the minute I saw her in the hallway last week, she'd never said a word to me, and it killed me. I thought when I came back to Blossom Grove there would be answers. I thought I'd discover why she pulled away. I choked down a strangled sob. I never, ever, in my wildest dreams, thought it could be anything like this, because it's Poppy. Poppyman. My Poppy. She couldn't die. She couldn't leave me behind. She couldn't leave any of us behind. Nothing made sense if she wasn't around. She had more life to live. She was meant to be with me for eternity. Poppy and Ruin for infinity. Forever always. Months. I couldn't. She couldn't. My body shook as another raw bellow ripped from my throat. The feeling of this pain no less than if I were being hung, drawn, and quartered. Tears fell freely down my face, pouring on the dry dirt below my hands. My body was stuck in place. My legs refused to move. I didn't know what to do. What the hell was there to do? How did you get past not being able to help? Tipping my head back to the star-filled sky, I closed my eyes. Poppy, I whispered, as the salt from my tears forced its way into my mouth. Poppyman, I murmured again, my endearment fading to nothing on the breeze. In my mind I saw Poppy's green eyes, as real as if she was sitting in front of me. I have a matter of months left to live, Rune. There's nothing anyone can do. This time my cries didn't clog in my throat. They were freed and they were many. My body shuddered with the force of them when I thought of what she must have gone through. Without me beside her, holding her hand. Without me kissing her head, without me holding her in my arms when she was sad. When the treatment made her weak, I thought of her facing all that pain with only half a heart, half of her soul struggling to cope without its counterpart, mine. I wasn't sure how long I sat in the park. It felt like forever until I was able to stand, and as I walked, I felt like an imposter in my own body, like I was trapped in a nightmare. When I woke up, I would be 15 again. None of this would be happening. I would wake up in the blossom grove under our favorite tree, with Poppyman in my arms. She'd laugh at me when I woke up, pulling my arm tighter around her waist. She'd tip up her head, and I'd lower my head for a kiss, and we kiss. We kiss and we kiss. When I pulled back with the sunlight on her face, she smiled at me with her eyes still closed and whispered, "Kiss 2053 in the blossom grove beneath our favorite tree with my ruin and my heart almost burst." I'd gather my camera in my hands and I'd wait. My eyes were ready at the lens for the moment she would open her eyes. That moment, that magical captured moment where I see in her eyes how much she loved me. And I tell her I loved her back as I ran the back of my hand gently down her cheek. Later, I'd hang that picture on my wall so I could see it every single day. The sound of an owl hooting pulled me from the daze. When I blinked back to fantasy, it hit me like a truck. It was exactly that, a fantasy. Then the pain surged back and stabbed me with the truth. I couldn't bring myself to believe that she was dying. My vision blurred with fresh tears, and it took me a moment to realize that I was at the tree that I pictured in my dreams, the one we always sat below. But when I looked up at it in the darkness, with the cool wind whipping through its branches, my stomach turned. The branches bare of leaves, their spindly arms twisting and turning, all reflected this moment in time. The moment I knew that my girl was leaving. I forced myself to walk. Somehow my feet led me home. But as I walked, my mind was a jumble of uncertainty, scattered, refusing to pin anything down. I didn't know what to do, where to go. Tears poured ceaselessly from my eyes. The pain inside my body was settling into a new home. No part of me was spared. I did it to save you. Nothing could save me from this. The thought of her, so sick, fighting to keep the light she beamed so bright from fading, destroyed me. Arriving at my house, I stared across at the window that had captivated me for 12 years. I knew she was on the opposite side. The house was in darkness, but as I moved my feet forward, I slowly ground to a halt. I couldn't face her. I couldn't. Turning on my heel, I rushed up the steps to my house and burst through the door. Tears of anger and sadness were ripping through me, both fighting for dominance. I was being torn apart from the inside. I passed the living room. "Rune," my mama called. I instantly heard the catch in her voice. My feet drew to a stop. When I faced my mama, who was standing up from the couch, I saw tears tracking down her cheeks. It hit me like a hammer blow. She knew. Mama stepped forward, her hand outstretched. I stared at it, but I couldn't take it. I couldn't. I rushed from my bedroom. I smashed through the door and then I just stood there. I stood dead center and looked around, searching for an idea of what to do next. But I didn't know. My hands lifted to my hair and gripped at the strands. I choked on the sound leaving my mouth. I drowned in the damned hairs tracking down my cheeks because I didn't know what the hell to do. I took a step forward, then stopped. I moved to go to my bed. Then I stopped. My heart thumped in a slow, lurching beat. I fought to drag air through my clogging lungs. I fought to not fall to the floor. And then I broke. I let the waiting anger free. I let it infuse me and carry me forward. Reaching my bed, I bent to grip the frame, and with a loud roar, I lifted it with all my strength, overturning the mattress and the sturdy wooden frame. I moved to my desk, and with one swipe, cleared the top, catching my laptop before it hit the floor. I spun where I stood and hurled it into the wall. I heard it shatter, but it didn't help. Nothing was helping. The pain was still here. The gut-wrenching truth. The goddamn tears. Clenching my fist, I threw back my head and I screamed. I screamed and I screamed until my voice was rough and my throat was raw. Dropping to my knees, I let myself drown in this grief. Then I heard my door open and I glanced up. My mama stepped through. I shook my head, raising my hand to ward her off. But she kept coming. No, I rasped, trying to move out of her way. But she didn't listen. Instead, she dropped to the floor beside me. No, I spat out harder. But her arm stretched out and wrapped around my neck. No, I fought. But she pulled me to her, and I lost all that fight. I collapsed into her arms and I cried. I screamed and I cried into the arms of the woman I'd barely spoken to in 2 years. But right now, I needed her. I needed someone who understood. Understood what losing Poppy would be like. So I let it all out. I gripped on her so tight, I thought it would leave a bruise. But my mama never moved. She cried with me. She sat quietly, cradling my head as I lost all strength. Then I heard movement from the doorway. My papa was watching, with tears in his eyes, sadness on his face. And that reignited the flame in my stomach. Seeing the man that took me away, that forced me from Poppy, when she was about to need me most, it snapped something inside me. Pushing back from my mama, I hissed at him, "Get out." My mama stiffened and I pushed her back further, glaring at my papa. He held up his hands, shock now etched across his face. "Rune," he said in a calm voice. It only fueled the flames. I said, "Get out." I stumbled to my feet. My papa glanced at my mama. When he looked back at me, my hands were clenched. I embraced the rage burning inside me. "Rune, son, you're in shock. You're hurting. Hurting. You have no damn idea," I roared, and stepped an inch closer to where he stood. My mama jumped to her feet. I ignored her as she tried to move into my path. My papa reached forward and pushed her behind him and out into the hallway. My papa closed the door slightly, blocking her out. "Get the hell out," I said one last time, feeling all the hatred I had for this man boiling to the surface. "I'm sorry, son," he whispered, and he let a teardrop fall to his cheek. He had the audacity to stand before me and shed a tear. He had no friggin' right. "Don't," I warned, my voice cut and raw. "Don't you dare stand there and cry. Don't you dare stand there and tell me you're sorry. You have no damn right when you were the one who took me away. You took me from her when I didn't want to go. You took me from her while she got sick. And now, she's dying." I couldn't finish the sentence. I couldn't bring myself to say that word. Instead, I ran. I ran at my papa and slammed my hands on his broad chest. He staggered back and hit the wall. "Rune," I heard my mama shouting from the hallway, ignoring her plea. I fisted my papa's collar in my hands and brought my face to hover just in front of his. "You took me away for 2 years. Because I was gone, she cut me off to save me. Save me from the pain of being so far away and not being able to comfort her or hold her when she was in pain. You made it so I couldn't be with her while she fought. I swallowed, but managed to add. And now it's too late. She has months. My voice broke. Months. I threw my hands down and stepped back, more tears and pain taking hold. With my back to him, I said, "There's no coming back from this. I'll never forgive you for taking me away from her. Never. We're done. Ruin." "Get out," I snarled. "Get the hell out of my room and get the hell out of my life. I'm done with you. So damn done." Seconds later, I heard the door shut and the house fell into silence. But to me, in this moment, the house sounded like it was screaming. Pushing the hair from my face, I slumped down on the overturned mattress, then leaned my back against the wall. For minutes, or it could have been hours, I stared at nothing. My room was dark, save for the light from a small lamp in the corner of the room that somehow had survived my rage. I lifted my eyes, and they settled on a photo hanging on the wall. I frowned, knowing I hadn't put it there. My mama must have hung it today when she unpacked my room, and I stared. I stared at Poppy, only days before we left, dancing in the blossom grove, the cherry blossoms she loved so much in full flower around her. Her arms were stretched to the sky as she twirled, her head tipped back as she laughed. My heart clenched seeing her this way, because this was Poppyman, the girl who made me smile, the girl who would run to the blossom grove laughing and dancing all the way, the one who told me to stay away from her. "I'll stay away from you. You stay away from me. We'll finally put us to rest." But I couldn't. I couldn't leave her. She couldn't leave me. She needed me and I needed her. I didn't care what she had said. There was no way I was leaving her to endure this alone. I couldn't if I tried. Before I could overthink it, I jumped to my feet and raced to the window. I took one glance at the window opposite mine and let instinct take control. As quietly as possible, I opened my window and climbed through. My heart beat in tandem with my feet as I pounded across the grass. I stopped dead. Then with a deep breath, I placed my hand under the window and pulled up. It moved. It was unlocked. It was as if no time had passed. I climbed inside and gently closed the window. A curtain was in the way, something that wasn't there before. Silently pushing it aside, I stepped forward, stopping as I drank in the familiar room. Poppy's sweet scented perfume, the one she'd always worn, hit my nose first. I closed my eyes, chasing away the heaviness on my chest. When I opened them again, my eyes fell to Poppy in her bed. Her breathing was soft as she slept, facing me, her body illuminated only by the dull glow of her nightlight. Then my stomach dropped. How the hell did she think I would ever stay away? Even if she hadn't told me why she cut me off, I would have found my way back to her. Even through all the hurt, pain, and anger, I would have been drawn back like a moth to flame. I could never stay away. But as I drank her in, her pink lips pursed in sleep, her face flushed with warmth, I felt as if a spear had slammed into my chest. I was going to lose her. I was going to lose the only reason I lived. I rocked on my feet. I struggled to cope with the thought. Tears fell onto my cheeks, just as an old floorboard creaked beneath me. I squeezed my eyes shut. When my eyes opened, it was to see Poppy staring at me from her bed, her eyes heavy with sleep. Then clearly seeing my face, the tears on my cheeks, the grief in my eyes, her expression morphed into a mask of pain, and slowly she opened her arms. It was instinctive. A primal power that only Poppy held over me. My feet dragged me forward at the sight of those arms. My legs finally gave out as I reached the bed, knees hitting the floor, head falling to Poppy's lap, and like a dam, I burst. The tears came thick and fast as Poppy wrapped her arms around my head. Lifting my arms, I wrapped them iron tight around her waist. Poppy's fingers stroked through my hair as, shaking, I fell apart in her lap, tears drenching the nightdress covering her thighs. Shh, Poppy whispered, rocking me back and forth. The sweet sound was like heaven to my ears. It's okay, she added. It struck me hard that she was comforting me, but I couldn't stop the pain. I couldn't stop the grief. And I held her. I held her so tightly I thought she would ask me to let go, but she didn't, and I wouldn't. I didn't dare let go, in case, when I lifted my head, she wasn't here. I needed her to be here. I needed her to stay. It's okay, Poppy soothed again. This time, I lifted my head until our eyes met. It's not, I said hoarsely. Nothing about this is okay. Poppy's eyes were shining, but no tears fell. Instead, she tipped my face up, one finger under my chin, and she stroked down my wet cheek with another. I watched, not breathing, as a small smile began tugging on her lips. My stomach flipped, the first sensation I had felt in my body since the numbness that followed her revelation had overtaken me. There you are, she said. So quietly I almost missed it. My room. My heart stopped beating. Her face melted into pure happiness as she pushed the hair out of my forehead and ran her fingertip down my nose and along the edge of my jaw. I stayed completely still, trying to commit this moment to memory. A photo in my mind, her hand on my face, that look of happiness that lay shining from within. I'm going to end it there for this video, but I'll continue on in the next video. I hope to see you there. Bye for now.